Craig the crocodile meets a little squirrel who teaches him a valuable lesson. Once upon a time, in a lush jungle by a sparkling river, there lived a crocodile named Craig. Craig was a magnificent creature with a long, scaly body and sharp teeth. He loved to bask in the sun and snap at passing fish, but he was also known for being a bit mischievous. One day, as he lay on a riverbank, he heard a sound that piqued his curiosity. Craig slowly opened his eyes and scanned the area around him. He noticed a tiny squirrel named Sasha playing with a nut, rolling it around with her paws. Craig's mischievous nature took over and he had an idea. He slinked down into the river, keeping his eyes locked on Sasha. Then, in one swift motion, he lunged out of the water and snatched the nut right out of Sasha's paws. Sasha was shocked and angry. "Hey! That's my nut," she shouted at Craig. But Craig just grinned his toothy grin and said, "Finders keepers, Sasha." And with that, he dove back into the river, leaving Sasha to sulk on the riverbank. Little did Craig know, his actions would set off a chain of events that would lead him on an unexpected adventure. As Craig swam away with Sasha's nut, he heard a faint voice calling out to him from downstream. It was a wise old owl named Ollie, who had been watching the whole incident from his perch high up in a nearby tree. "Craig, you shouldn't take things that don't belong to you," Ollie hooted. "What goes around comes around." But Craig just laughed and said, "I'm a crocodile, Ollie. I do what I want." With that, Craig continued to swim downstream, feeling very pleased with himself for his clever little prank. But little did he know, Ollie's words would soon come back to haunt him. As Craig swam further and further downstream, he encountered more and more animals who were angry at him for stealing Sasha's nut. Some of them even tried to chase him away. Craig had never felt so unwelcome in his own jungle before. Finally, tired and hungry, Craig realized that he had made a big mistake. He had let his mischievous nature get the best of him, and now he was paying the price. He knew he needed to make things right. So Craig swam back upstream, back to where Sasha was still sulking on the riverbank. When he got there, he approached her slowly, holding out the nut in his jaws. "Sasha, I'm sorry," he said. "I shouldn't have taken your nut. Here, it's yours." Sasha was surprised and a little suspicious, but when she saw the remorse in Craig's eyes, she forgave him. And with that, Craig and Sasha became unlikely friends, and Craig learned a valuable lesson about the importance of kindness and respect. From that day forward, Craig was known not just as a mischievous crocodile, but also as a kind and thoughtful friend to all the animals in the jungle. And even though he still loved to bask in the sun and snap at passing fish, he made sure to always treat his friends with the respect they deserved. Craig's newfound kindness did not go unnoticed. The other animals in the jungle soon saw that he had changed and began to treat him with more respect and kindness in return. Even Ollie the owl, who had warned Craig about his behavior before, began to see him in a new light. One day, Ollie approached Craig as he was basking in the sun on the riverbank. "Craig, I must say, I'm impressed by the change I've seen in you," Ollie said. Craig smiled warmly. "Thank you, Ollie. I realized that being kind and respectful to others is much more rewarding than causing trouble." "Indeed it is," Ollie agreed. "And I believe you have much more potential than you realize." "What do you mean?" Craig asked, intrigued. "I mean that you have qualities that could make you a leader in this jungle," Ollie said. "You're strong, smart, and now, kind. The other animals look up to you, Craig. You have the power to make a difference." Craig was taken aback. He had never thought of himself as a leader before. But as he looked around the jungle, he saw that Ollie was right. The other animals were watching him, and they seemed to be waiting for him to do something. "What should I do?" Craig asked. "That's up to you," Ollie said. But I suggest you start by using your newfound kindness to help others. Maybe you could start a project to clean up the river or organize a food drive for those in need. Craig thought about it for a moment, then nodded. I like that idea. I'll start by talking to the other animals and seeing what they need. And so, Craig began to reach out to the other animals in the jungle, asking them what he could do to help. Some were hesitant at first, still remembering Craig's mischievous past. But as they saw him consistently showing kindness and respect, they began to trust him more and more. Together, Craig and the other animals began to make a real difference in the jungle. They cleaned up the river, planted new trees, and organized a food drive that helped many of the animals who had been struggling to find enough to eat. As the days went on, Craig felt more fulfilled than he ever had before. He had discovered a new purpose in life, one that went beyond his own selfish desires. And he knew that he owed it all to his unlikely friendship with Sasha, and to the wise words of Ollie the owl. Craig was thrilled to have helped his friends in the jungle and was happy to have made a difference. He spent his days swimming in the river, basking in the sun, and helping the other animals whenever they needed him. One day, while Craig was relaxing on the riverbank, he heard a loud commotion coming from downstream. He quickly swam over to investigate and found a group of animals huddled together, looking frightened. "What's going on?" Craig asked. "It's the humans," one of the animals cried. "They're coming to the jungle to cut down our trees and build their houses." Craig was shocked. He had never seen humans in the jungle before, and he knew that their presence could mean trouble for all the animals who called it home. "We have to do something," Craig said. "We can't let them destroy our home." The animals agreed, and they quickly came up with a plan. Craig would use his strength to create a diversion, while the other animals worked together to lead the humans away from the jungle. Craig charged downstream, causing a huge splash and drawing the humans' attention. They quickly followed him, chasing him deeper and deeper into the jungle. Meanwhile, the other animals led the humans on a wild goose chase, making sure they stayed away from the most important areas of the jungle. They darted in and out of trees, making loud noises and scaring the humans away. Finally, after several hours of running and hiding, the humans gave up and left the jungle. The animals cheered and celebrated their victory, thanking Craig for his bravery. From that day forward, Craig was known as the protector of the jungle. He watched over his friends and made sure that no harm came to them or their home. And even though he loved to bask in the sun and snap at passing fish, he knew that his true purpose was to keep the jungle safe for all who lived there. Craig realized that he had made a big mistake. He had let his mischievous nature get the best of him, and now he was paying the price. He knew he needed to make things right. So Craig swam back upstream, back to where Sasha was still sulking on the riverbank. When he got there, he approached her slowly, holding out the nut in his jaws. "Sasha, I'm sorry," he said. "I shouldn't have taken your nut. Here, it's yours." Sasha was surprised and a little suspicious, but when she saw the remorse in Craig's eyes, she forgave him. And with that, Craig and Sasha became unlikely friends, and Craig learned a valuable lesson about the importance of kindness and respect. From that day forward, Craig was known not just as a mischievous crocodile, but also as a kind and thoughtful friend to all the animals in the jungle. And even though he still loved to bask in the sun and snap at passing fish, he made sure to always treat his friends with the respect they deserved. One day, while Craig was lounging on the riverbank, he heard a loud noise coming from the nearby trees. He saw a group of monkeys playing and swinging from branch to branch, having a great time. Craig watched them for a while, and he suddenly got an idea. "Hey, monkeys," he called out. "Why don't you let me take you on a ride down the river?" The monkeys were skeptical at first, but Craig promised them a fun and exciting adventure. So the monkeys hopped onto Craig's back, and he swam down the river with them on his back, showing them all the sights and sounds of the jungle. The monkeys had a blast, and they thanked Craig for the ride with big grins and hugs. Craig felt a sense of satisfaction and joy that he had never felt before. He realized that making others happy was even more rewarding than any mischief he could ever cause. From that day forward, Craig became known as the jungle's friendliest crocodile. He would often take the animals on rides down the river, showing them the beauty of the jungle and making sure they had a great time. And whenever he saw a new animal in the jungle, he would introduce himself with a friendly smile and a welcoming attitude. Craig learned that being kind and respectful to others was the key to true happiness, and he was grateful for the lesson he had learned. As the years went by, Craig and Sasha remained the best of friends, and Craig became a beloved member of the jungle community. He no longer pulled pranks or took things that didn't belong to him. Instead, he focused on being kind and helpful to others. One day, when Craig was lounging on the riverbank, he heard a familiar voice calling out to him. It was Ollie the owl, the wise old creature who had taught him such an important lesson all those years ago. "Craig, my old friend," Ollie hooted. "I've been watching you, and I must say, I'm impressed. You've become a true leader in this jungle. You've learned the importance of kindness and respect, and you've earned the respect of your peers." Craig smiled, feeling proud of how far he had come. "Thank you, Ollie," he said. "I couldn't have done it without your wise words and Sasha's forgiveness. I've learned that even the most mischievous creatures can change for the better." And with that, Craig settled back onto the riverbank, basking in the warm sun and feeling grateful for the lessons he had learned and the friends he had made. From that day forward, he continued to be a shining example of what it meant to be a true member of the jungle community. Good night, little ones. Sleep well.